Welcome to the Spool Podcast. Unwind with Dr. Nils Roemer, Dean of the Bass School at UT Dallas.
All right, I'm really exceptionally excited today. I have two very distinguished individuals here who are going to talk to me about what is going to become one of the major events in Dallas. But before we get there, I was a little struck by how do we actually tell that story. And I think the way I want to tell the story is on May 2nd, on this stage, there will be something quite incredible happening. Part of an international festival called African Vibration. Now, when we say that, we look at him, we look at the great stage, we think great musicians, all lines up, right? But then we have to ask ourselves, how do we actually get here? So now we want to actually learn a little bit more about you, because you are kind of a social entrepreneur. You're yourself an immigrant from Zimbabwe. You came to this country probably with any number of aspirations, but you probably didn't have anyone whisper into your ear at childhood and say, and create a musical festival. So how did this come about? What I read is one of the stepping stones was that you attended what's called the Kanthari school?
Yeah. So Kanthari is really a very interesting story. I'm coming from Zimbabwe, and I get enrolled at this institute in Kerala, India.
This is South India, right?
It's in South India.
Wow.
So this is a place for change makers, for dreamers who are coming from the margins of society, who have experienced first-hand social ills, and who are willing to step up and solve those problems. So that's how I ended up in Kanthari.
You have a way of making this all sound utterly easy. So I was born in Zimbabwe, and then I was in South India. How do you get from one place to another? How do you go from here to then becoming, it's not just a Saturday, Sunday program that you did. This is a long program, right?
Yeah, that is a very long program.
Meaning?
Yeah, it lasted about 2 years.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I started part of it was.
You're really great in telling your own story. Let's get this out. So how do you get from Zimbabwe there?
What happened is I was running a small flea market business, selling clothes, used clothes from Mozambique, and some of the clothes, they actually come from this country, first world countries, to Africa, and we buy them and sell. And during that time, I had a burden about the plight of widows, which is something that is really at the depth of my heart. I was raised by a widow, and I witnessed firsthand social and economic discrimination they face. So whilst I was trying to come up with a solution about the plight of widows, I started to organize events where I invite informative speakers to come and speak to widows as a form of empowerment. So I felt this wasn't enough. I needed to involve artists. So I could invite artists, they could come and do music. And this platform became so exciting up to a point that we established in about 6 communities. They could meet once per month, and I could invite artists, and mostly I was using money that I was getting for my small business.
So this was your first step, and then you ended up in this special program for dreamers and makers and changers.
So one of my friend who was also interested about what I was doing is the one who told me, my guy, I think there is a place in India, and this place is looking for people like you. So I applied. I didn't know that I was going to be accepted. They only take about 25 participants from around the world. So after I applied, I was enrolled. I went to India. What makes it special to me, the person that trained me, her name is Sabria Tenbeken. She's originally from Germany. She's a 2005 Nobel Peace Prize nominee, and one of Oprah Winfrey's greatest friend. So I was trained by that lady. She's really amazing, and I always give credit to her because she really made me who I am today.
I think we needed to understand a little bit how so you did that, and then I suspect at some point thereafter you came to the United States and you ended up in Dallas?
Yeah, after I went back to Zimbabwe, after I completed the program, I started to establish Yoka Africa. Yeah. So Yoka Africa, it's an organization that does social and economic empowerment for people at the margins of society. Mm-hmm. So at the time I left Zimbabwe, the organization was already registered and operating in about 5 countries in Southern Africa, and with really strong roots back home in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so then it's like in these movies, you remember when the movies goes and then they say 4 weeks earlier, right. 12 months earlier. So we're just tracking here. So you're coming to Dallas, and then I take it in the post-pandemic world in particular, when we started thinking again about coming back, restoring our communities and strengthening our bonds. I mean, at that point, right, you must have thought about thinking about a musical festival here in Dallas.
So about the musical festival, this is something that I was, it's something personal. It's really a depth passion that I have for music and African artists. So I'm also an artist. I'm a poet, and I really felt it would be a brilliant thing to have a festival in Dallas, Texas, where people from around Texas, from around US, and also international audience can come every year and have an experience of Africa. And when I say Africa, I believe Africa it's also an extension. If we go to the Caribbean, we still find people who have deep roots in Africa. If we go to countries like Brazil, and here in America, we have those we call African Americans.
So, I think when you listen to him, and this is exactly how he came to me, and I thought, okay, well, I think he's right. I think he's going to do it. I think we're going to come along. But this is like a program, but how did this go again? That it was for changers and dreamers, right?
Kanthari, it's a dream factory.
Dream factory. Yeah. And so I think, how did you come to this? Did he also come to you and say, want to do an African vibration festival and let's make it happen? You said, yeah, of course, or how did you become a supporter of this?
It was quite unique, and as we all know at this point, Gram is a very unique person, yes. Right? So he come to me because he wanted to have the concert at one of the Credit Union of Texas locations. And he come by one of the branches, and it just so happens I was visiting one of my branches in my territory. And he was telling me about what he was wanting to do. And of course, he's a dreamer and shaker. And he said, hey, this is my vision. This is what I would like to see. There are a lot of Africans here on this side of town. There's a lot of African American in this area. Can you help me? So forth and so on. And I said, you know what? This is absolutely God's sin, because you came to me at the right time, at the right place with this question, and I would love to help. And that's how the relationship started.
But it does, since this had not been taking place, and it's the funny thing when you talk to Gram, it's just what propels him is what he wants to do, not like thinking about obstacles or hurdles or anything like that, but rather, because I think you just wrote out of the blue. I got an email from you, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, we're going to do this festival and we're just looking for another partner or something like that. But it was totally out of the blue. Mm-hmm. You and I had never met before, right? Wow. And, I get a lot of emails for lots of things, but there was something very specific and very pointed about this one. And I'm just really, obviously really thrilled that I actually answered that email, which is not exactly what I can claim for all of the emails that I'm getting. I'm trying to be good about this, but it doesn't always happen. I think what is interesting to me is, we all talk about social change. Correct. And I think sometimes we talk about the problems that we're facing in our communities, things that we want to overcome. Mm-hmm. And when, you know, in that respect, we're often driven by our eyes, you know, be here, and that's very powerful, understanding the problems and all that. But I think what's harder, and this is what I admire about him so much, is actually just to look at where you want to be.
Correct.
And that is, I think, in an entirely different way how you can make change, which is apparently works really well for you. So I'm trying to learn here a little bit that, you know, don't get too occupied with the here, but really focus really strongly on what you want to create. Yeah. And I think, you know, we had a good time last year at the African Vibration Festival. Great music. It was Texas. I remember it being really, really hot. It was really, really hot. But we had a good time, and I thought, oh, this is nice. And then before we knew it, he popped back out and said, well, listen, next year, so much bigger, larger, not just one recipient, but many. Yes. But I think he had it all mapped out. The one was just the kind of warm-up, the dress rehearsal. So you all along must have had a very clear vision of what you want, right?
Yeah, that's true. So,
so what I'm trying to get at is, you know, sometimes we think that our futures are extensions of our past, right? That we learn certain things and then we move forward. But you seem to be a fine example of someone who says, my future is actually coming from the future of that which I want to create. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I strongly believe that, because I believe whatever that I'm doing is shaped by the past, by the past experiences. And also, I have a strong belief that vision is like fire, and you don't choose what you want to do. It's something that is just a burden that is placed upon you, and at the end of the day, you don't think about where you are going to get the resources, how you are going to make it. The eyes will be just on the goal, that I'm just going to achieve it. Last year, I was actually shocked that I managed to pull it out, and I didn't really have like much financial support, but I made sure that the event has to happen, which is a similar case with this year. And yeah, so it's slowly happening, and it's really coming from the past.
We should unleash him on a couple of other problems that we want to have solved. I mean, right? I think that there seems to be a method. Tell us now, just so what is happening now on May 2nd, 2025?
I'm really excited because what makes it exciting to me, before I explain much, is this is a dream coming from the margins of society. These are things that I've visualized way before I came here. Some of the things I've dreamt about it when I was still a high school student. And some of the artists that we are going to see coming this year, I have seen them from afar, and they are really amazing. So this year it's a very an exciting program. We are going to have DJs, and these DJs are going to represent every region of Africa and its extension. When I say extension, like I said, from the Caribbean. We have DJs from the Caribbean, the DJs from here in the United States who are coming to represent music by African Americans. We have DJ from every regions of Africa who are coming to represent the sounds from each region of Africa.
Nice.
And this is going to be happening in a 2-day period, May 2 and 3. Then we also have another exciting program, which is the forum. The forum, we are going to be focusing more about the challenges in Africa and how best we can actually solve. And this is coming from economics, business, economics, and social change, and also music.
So this is the part what's actually going to be here on this very stage where all this discussion will take place, really.
Yeah, they'll be taking place here. And I'm also happy that even the ambassador of Africa Union in the United States, she confirmed that she's going to come and grace the event. Then the more exciting part is the live music performances by some of Africa amazing artists. We have one of my favorite artists. She's also coming. Her name is Dobe Nyaori. She's a Grammy Award winner and one of the incredible live music performance talents that I have ever seen. So she's gonna be here, and we have about 8 music bands that have confirmed that are actually coming.
So I know, guys, you're already writing in your calendars, dancing and singing May 2nd and 3rd, right? Yes. They'll be here.
I'm really optimistic that it's going to grow, and it's an annual event.
Well, if you keep growing like you did from last year to this year, and if you keep at that same rate, then yeah, you're gonna get there very soon.
Yes,
you know, this is
definitely. So it's gonna be happening every year, first week of May.
So tell us a little bit more about African music, because I think there's also something really, really interesting about African music, that African music, you know, you already said it yourself, on the one side is music coming from Africa, but on the other side, that music is also played in London, and it's performed and recorded in LA. So it's very global as well, right? So there's something very specific, but also something, you know, in lots of ways, which is very much everywhere. And then it's also a musical tradition that has possibly influenced every other music in the world as well. So there's something very global about this phenomena. Yeah. So we will hear music that we don't know, but then music that somehow seem to be familiar to us, or some parts of it will, you know, kind of remind us of something else. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting question, and that's why I was smiling when you were explaining. So according to my point of view, African music has been a lead instrument in shaping global narratives. I would like to move from African continent, then I'll start with some of the 2 key genres that has shaped the world. And this is reggae. I believe reggae is...
See, they're already tapping their feet, you know, they can, you know.
Reggae...
Come on, Scott, I know you, you know.
Reggae, it's African music. Right. It's 95% the sound of Africa. Then we move into, here in America, the African-American hip-hop, right? That's really African music. Because mostly music, the rhythm is sometimes shaped by the language and, shaped by languages.
Correct.
And when our people moved here, when they came here, they came with the sound. Yeah, and they made the sound what it is today. So I then started to look at the African music back home. I believe it's just a piece of cake that we have experienced, the reggae and hip hop. African music is way deeper than that. If you come to Africa, in my country, Zimbabwe, where I come from, we have different regions, and in each region you find different music genres.
The sounds, right.
Right, and different music sound. So then we come and talk about 54 countries in Africa, right? The only thing that I believe is lacking is mostly the attention of the media in propelling African music. But currently, we have seen a wave of music like Amapiano and Afro beats, which is currently the most dominating music genre in the world.
We have also a stronger presence of African musicians at some of the big global musical festivals like Glastonbury and others, right? So, so in lots of ways it has become more audible of sorts. And I suspect, I mean, we always like to go into technology a little bit, because we're in the School of Arts, Humanities and Technology. Social media, live streaming and all that would have made, you know, African music a lot more accessible these days, right?
You know, and Gram, I like that you brought that up to the dean a moment ago. with African music, with the background of Caribbean heritage and hearing the different sounds, Africa and the music Africa created, it wasn't what we would just call music. It's its own language. It gave people an opportunity to express their inside feelings from the sound without a single word being used. And those are some of the things that the African Vibrations concerts are sharing with the rest of the world. People are getting an opportunity to feel it. Dean, you were there. You guys get the sounds and you feel it. It make you feel a certain way during that entire time. Yes.
No, and it's also very communal. You know,
Yes.
we were all in the heat together there, right?
Yeah,
a
yeah.
year ago, and we all
Yeah.
were enjoying it, and it was very communal event of
Very.
sorts. And I think what I also appreciated, I think all generations were out there, right? I mean, it lasted for the
generations.
better part of the day.
Yes.
Saw some kids early on dancing and swaying around, and
Yeah.
then, men, women, young, old, everyone that was there together. So we obviously hope to create this even on a bigger level, but also we really are interested in bringing all of that to our campus, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
Sure.
lots of ways a big community as well. It's a campus, of up to, almost 30,000 students.
What was your vision when Gram came to you about this, Dean? What was your vision for your campus? What would you like to see happen?
The one thing that you realize when you're in my role is that, your vision sometimes, I have my own ideas about this, that, and the other. But sometimes you get lucky and you meet really interesting people and you're just going to say, you know what? The best thing in this case I can do is just kind of go along with this and kind of let him guide us. And that's exactly what you did. You created the vision, and we were saying, okay, we have this space, we have that, we can do this here, we can do that. But in lots of ways, this was very much his vision, and we are as happy partners in all of that. But we do think that we want to make sure that this is, this university is the University of Texas at Dallas. We are a public university, and we want to be very much a community engaging university, and that is very clearly also, what I see as one of the core aspects of my school. We have this big hall here. We have a fantastic campus. We're building a new concert hall with many more outdoor areas. There will be more opportunity for this in the future. But all of this is really, to kind of think about a university it's not a walled-in environment where all the smart kids come and learn and then they go out. But it's very much a public university that creates a space for everyone around us, and does that also by inviting everyone to campus, and in any number of ways, through concerts, lectures, our food trucks, or whatever it is. But now also through an annual musical festival. And so we are very, very proud to be the home of this now second time only, right? Second time. So we came in early, which is really befitting also for University of Texas at Dallas.
We
We're young.
actually came at the right time because last year was the first edition,
Right.
and this year is the second, and we are going to grow together.
No, we have also here in our school, we have any number of students who are also into sound engineering, and they'll be inspired by what they hear and they can do things with it. We have a large program of students who are in animation. They'll be again interested in all of this. So we also feel that we're bringing something to the community, but we're also bringing something to ourselves here that we kind of learn and embrace. And I think there's also something really, nothing brings people together, I think, short of maybe food. Food and music, those they go head to head for me. So I'm just trying, that's a tough one, right? But the two of them, I think, more than likely, have a way of bringing people together. And I think this is also, we love this Dallas Metroplex, but there are lots of us in this Metroplex, and we don't often get together. And music brings us together in different ways, and I think there's a lot of excitement for that as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that opportunity. And what you say is, I just felt the other day that it's more like I'm on a dream run, because these are things that I've seen whilst I was back in the dusty streets of Kwazana in Harare, Zimbabwe. And I could visualize, I could sit down with some of my my colleagues saying, one day, I just feel like one day somewhere out there in the world, I'm going to establish a movement that relates to music. And when I came here and I wrote to you, I really have that strong conviction that this is going to work.
No, that's how he approached everything, with that conviction. So very, very powerful. All right, well, I think good vibrations, right? We just have to wait a little bit longer. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always.